What's going on, addicts? In this video, we are going to be looking at Stefon Diggs, the newly acquired wide receiver for the Buffalo Bills, giving you guys a in-depth look at his expected fantasy outlook for 2020. We're also going to be doing a lot of videos like this across the NFL, so if you like this type of video, hit that like and subscribe button. And you can also check out how we have all of these guys ranked on our website. We have it customized by a scoring system. You can access it for free. Just got to create a free account. Go to fantasyaddictionnetwork.com or click the link in the description below. But anyway, let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into it. I have a lot to say about Stefon Diggs. Now, I am again proud of the fantasy community for not overreacting to this move. Stefon Diggs last year was incredibly inconsistent, even though he was hyper efficient. Stefon Diggs is a good NFL receiver. And going from a team where they were run first, they didn't have a high pass volume, but the passing that they did do was efficient. Kirk Cousins was very accurate deep down the field, and gave Stefon Diggs a lot of good good looks to actually be able to produce in the efficient manner that he was able to. So he goes from that team to the Bills, who again we're just looking at the last couple of years, but with Josh Allen, less accurate, less efficient than Kirk Cousins, less volume than Kirk Cousins, still a run first team. And yes, now he's going to be the main guy in town, but it's not like John Brown and Cole Beasley are just going to go away. I know they're not names of consequence like Adam Thielen was, but if this team ends up throwing and running the ball at the same ratio as the Vikings, it's hard to imagine a world, especially in this first season, that Stefon Diggs sees more volume in 2020 than he did in 2019. Even if he sees more volume, it's hard to imagine that he's going to remain as efficient as he was in 2019. When we get to the advanced metrics, I'll show you just how efficient he was. Looking at his stats, though, finished the year with 63 receptions and 1,130 receiving yards, so very high yards per catch. 61 rushing yards as well, and 6 total touchdowns. I think he had something like only one red zone target, so that was a little bit off kilter. You normally expect to see more of that for Stefon Diggs because he had a higher touchdown output the last couple of years. So that was a little bit of an anomaly. But he finishes the year last wide receiver to number 24 with 212 points and gave you an average of 14 points a game, finishing at 26 for the wide receivers. When you look at his individual game stats, though, anyone that owns Stefon Diggs will remember this very vividly and will remember how angry they were every single time they started him and he put up a crapper game, and every time they benched him and he blows up. So, as you can see, in week 6 he had 43 fantasy points. Well, that's 20% of his entire season in 1 week. He also had another really good game against Denver where he scored 23, another good game against Detroit where he scored 21, and most weeks he scored less than 10. So very inconsistent. This is the typical receiver that you hate to have in redraft, love to have in best ball, because you can never trust starting him, but you can't bench him. Because if you benched him and he puts up 43 points on your bench, you'll never forgive yourself. So you're just going to keep chasing those blow up games and keep getting the 5.7 and the 2.6 and the 7.9 and the 4.5, like these gross outputs, because you're just hoping and praying that he'll turn things around and give you another 23 or 43 point game. I don't think that's really going to change coming to Buffalo. He was hoping that he'd go to a team where he could be the lead dog, and he will, but it's not going to be as efficient for him. Last year, Stefon Diggs had 28 deep targets. That was number 5 in the NFL. His yards per target was 12.1, which was the third most in the NFL. His target quality rating was number 1. He received the most quality targets in the entire NFL, and a lot of that has to do with how many deep balls he was receiving, but the accuracy of those deep balls was great. People don't give Kirk Cousins a lot of credit, but his deep ball accuracy is really solid. His average target distance was number 9 in the NFL. So here's where we start to get to the sketchy part. First of all, the Bills only have 35 vacated targets. So Stefon Diggs is going to command a huge workload. He's going to have to siphon it from John Brown, from Devin Singletary, from Cole Beasley. There weren't really that many receivers on the team last year that commanded a huge target volume. So basically, they're either going to have to become irrelevant or nobody's going to be relevant from a fantasy perspective on this team. Unless Josh Allen takes a massive step forward, which, as we said in the Josh Allen video that we did, we're not expecting it. We're expecting a slight step forward, but we're not expecting like all of a sudden he's going to turn into Patrick Mahomes type leap. Because even from his rookie year to his second year, his deep ball accuracy went down. It went from like 26% to 25%, as we can see here. His deep ball completion percentage, Josh Allen's, was 33rd in the NFL. There are only 32 teams, so that means there were some backup quarterbacks that were better than him in their deep ball completion percentage. Teddy Bridgewater was one of them. Josh Allen's accuracy rating, 6.5. That is 35th in the NFL. So Stefon Diggs going from one of the more accurate quarterbacks in the NFL with low volume to a low volume team with one of the least accurate quarterbacks. These projections that we have for him, I feel, are slightly generous. Obviously, we have his yards per catch going down. We have his receptions going up because they're paying Stefon Diggs a lot of money. I think there's going to be a big onus on putting a large amount of targets directed his way, especially because last year we saw he started to get that. I hate using this word because people overuse it when they talk about receivers who want to win and want to be involved. They call them divas, and I don't like that terminology, but I know what it symbolizes and what it brings across, and that's really all you can use to explain what was happening with Stefon Diggs last year, because the Vikings were winning, they were a good team, but he was not happy with how he was being used. So he wanted to go to a team, call it the Kyrie Irving effect. He wanted to go to a team where he's the main dog. Well, he's going to get that now, but first of all, we already know just from history that the first year a wide receiver transfers to a new team, they don't typically see their output increase massively. And even if it does, their efficiency goes down because it takes time to get onto the same page with a new coach and a new quarterback and a new scheme and a new playbook. And with everything that's going on right now with coronavirus, it's not like they're going to have the same amount of time to actually work with each other. Maybe they're doing it privately, but they're not doing it corporately like you would typically see. We're not going to even see any coordinated and corporate effects of getting people onto the field until training camp, which doesn't happen until the middle or the end of July. So we're still over a month away, and that happens a few weeks before preseason starts. So Josh Allen and Stefon Diggs will most likely not start the year on the same page. So if he's peppering him with inaccurate targets, that's just going to lead to a more frustrated Stefon Diggs. I just feel like he's going to be questioning his decision to want to leave Minnesota after the season, especially with Adam Thielen getting up there in age. I think Stefon Diggs, if he would have just waited another year, he probably would have ended up being the main guy in Minnesota. But to each his own. We have him going for 75 receptions and 1,000 receiving yards, and I still feel like that's being generous. We have him with 6 total touchdowns. Again, Josh Allen is one of the most inaccurate quarterbacks in the red zone as well, but we are anticipating him getting a few more touchdowns through the air this year and a few less on the ground, so Stefon Diggs should be able to benefit from that. But that only puts him at about 213 fantasy points, which, based on his ADP right now, I've seen it all over the place. It's anywhere from the 4th to the 6th round. I wouldn't touch him until at least the 6th round. There's a lot of receivers going in the same tier that I just feel have more upside. We still give him a higher upside rating because Stefon Diggs is a good football player, and it's hard to neglect and ignore the fantasy relevance of a good football player, but he went to a really bad situation. So probably not going to be owning Stefon Diggs anywhere outside of best ball. And if you do take him at best ball, I still wouldn't reach for him because I don't think that his 43-point game is going to be a thing anymore. He still might have a few blow-up games, but overall, in redraft, you're probably not going to be happy no matter where you take him because you're never going to really know when you can comfortably start him, especially if he continues the same trajectory as he did previously. But let me know if you guys have a different take. I know that that might be a little bit harsh to Stefon because as a player, I think he's really, really good. I just think this is a really bad situation and one that you should avoid for fantasy. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. We keep doing these. We're doing over 100 of these player outlook videos. So check those out. Hit that like and subscribe button. Support the channel. And we'll see you guys in the next video.